Yakuza 0 is a game about the tragic experiences of living in a crime family and the consequences that come from being good people in bad situations. It's also a game about not doing any of the main quest and spending 60 hours just singing karaoke. With Yakuza 7 on the way and Yakuza memes blowing up Reddit, I thought what better time to attempt a challenge run on this wonderful series. Yakuza are known for solving problems with their fists. But what if, like Waka Flocka Flame featuring Wale and Roscoe Dash, I earned this money and I did it with no hands? The rules in this one are pretty easy. First, I can't punch in combat. Throws, kicks, and weapons only. Second, tutorial sections do not count, because, like a mute kid, I'm forced to use my hands. Third, if I punch at all, I have to restart from the last section of the game. And finally, this is not an accurate depiction of the story. There will be some spoilers though. The game starts out with me and my best friend backyard wrestling, except I hit him too hard and have to convince him not to tell my mom. After a legitimately pointless cutscene with a loan shark that lasts 9 minutes, I find the rolling 90s Crips trying to shake someone down on my turf. I solved this the only way I know how. A tutorial section. After some forced punching and several hard shoves, my sexy but not in the same way as Kiryu sexy, more like a gentle soul sexy, brother Nishiki shows up and we hit the town. Apparently for 2 adult Yakuza men, hitting the town means talking to old homeless white men, having a drink at the bar, and several hours of karaoke. After partying till dawn, Kazuya and Liu Kang grab some noodles, only to be interrupted by a very serious TV broadcast.
I, Eva X, humbly submit a toast to Nicholas.
Kiryu rushes to his 3 dads' offices to ask them what a cum chalice is, when they start interrogating him like he just killed a man. Kuze explains that Kiryu actually ended up playing too rough with his friend in the empty lot and ended up killing him and must serve for his crimes. Scared of what will happen to him in prison, Kiryu finds homeless Trump and learns the rush style to defend himself. After testing out his new strength against generic Japanese greaser number 47, Kiryu heads back to the loan shark to find out what he knows about the framed murder. To absolutely everyone's surprise, the loan shark didn't feel like talking and sends his cronies out to help Kiryu get the message. Unfortunately for the cronies, however, the only message Kiryu got was, "Please kick all of these men repeatedly." These sections of the game aren't necessarily hard, but can be the most time consuming. Kiryu doesn't have many moves that aren't punches, so kicking and grappling, while easy to do, only hit one person, resulting in some pretty tedious fights. After enough kicks to the groin to turn any man into a castrato, Kiryu finds the loan shark, who seems very open and completely willing to talk to him. Kuze mysteriously shows up, and Kiryu learns that he's being framed by his own Yakuza family in order to obtain the empty lot. After refusing to spy on his father and standing by his virtues like a real Yakuza, Kiryu meets up with Cash Doll and Nishiki to tell them that he wants to stop being a real Yakuza. In order to do that, Kiryu has to travel to Dojima family headquarters, which is the equivalent of Barack Obama stepping down as president by going to the clan headquarters. Kiryu pulls up to Dojima HQ and politely asks to be removed from his oath as Yakuza, only to have several Yakuza make it their oath to remove Kiryu. This is one of the more fun, yet difficult areas in the game. Since it's still early game, I don't have a lot of abilities unlocked, and I assumed all I could do was kick. However, I remembered something my 3rd grade teacher told me at recess. Weapons aren't fists. Thankfully for me, most areas with large groups of enemies have things that I can use as a weapon. This is pretty much going to carry me through the rest of the run, so get used to seeing it. After beating the crazy 88, Kuze congratulates Kiryu by attempting to murder him. This is the first major boss fight in the game, so naturally it's going to be insanely difficult. I mean, Kuze is one of the 3 Yakuza lieutenants, so this battle will be a test of might and after literally kicking Kuze's ass, Big Papi Dojima shows up and asks Kuze for a spare pinky. Thankfully, I'll never have to deal with him again. Kiryu was like, "Hey yo, what about me? I'm trying to get out of the game though." To which Dojima responded, "Oh yeah, sure, whatever man, but now your dad, Kazuma, him, he's dead, GG no re." Lost and insecure, a man named Tachibana finds Kiryu on the corner of 1st and Amistad. After a 90s R&B-esque shower scene, Tachibana explains to Kiryu that he's a real estate tycoon, that he needs help getting the empty lot, and this is totally not a pretty woman scenario at all. Kiryu heads back to the Kazuma family office to tell Nishiki that he's safe, but he's likely just killed their dad. After a run-in with Mr. Shakedown where I won on the first try, Kiryu runs into Ebenezer Scrooge and his security guard, the scariest woman I've ever seen in my entire life. Watching this woman commit homicide inspires Kiryu to learn the beast style, and he tests it out by beating up some local men with an entire motorcycle. Kiryu finds out that Tachibana is hiring homeless people and discovers that they're being used to squat on land that Tachibana wants to take over. So, basically, a reverse Mark Zuckerberg. A few errand boy missions for the homeless later, Kiryu finds out that Tachibana is in the Champion District, and receives a warm welcome from the residents when he gets there. After exchanging such pleasantries as flinging trash cans at the residents, Oda reveals Tachibana's true location, even though not 5 minutes ago, Kiryu literally walked out of his house. Kiryu heads to Tachibana's office and hey, you wouldn't believe it, he gets set up again, proving Kiryu to be the most gullible man of all time. After some stern negotiation, the guards allow Kiryu to meet Oda, who also demands a duel. This boss fight is probably the easiest in the challenge, because there's a ton of items Kiryu can pick up as weapons in the area. Much like my own sexual experiences, Oda only took about 30 seconds to bust. Apparently beating the hell out of someone earns you their respect, because Tachibana and Oda offer to assist Kiryu, as well as give him a job at the real estate agency. After this, the story takes a drastic shift, as the next chapter changes characters completely. In a 13-minute cutscene, no seriously, this cutscene is like 13 minutes long, what the hell is going on with this game and cutscenes? We're introduced to Goro Majima, a respectable cabaret owner and the complete opposite of the thuggish ways of Kiryu. After dealing with a drunk customer in the most gangster way possible, Majima goes to look for new girls to join his cabaret, only to run into Mr. Miyagi. Miyagi demands that they fight, but Majima respectfully declines, not wanting to harm the old man. Majima heads to his rival club, the Odyssey, runs into the average Pokemon fan in chat, and trades some of his old hoes and a few draft picks for the Odyssey's star player, ensuring victory in this year's Stripper Bowl. On the way home from the club, Majima runs into this man assaulting someone else. Ever the hero, Majima learns the slugger style and duels the crook with a bat. After being defeated, the ne'er-do-well has a change of heart and promises to help Majima craft new items if he ever needs it. That night, we learn that Yakuza killed Majima's brother, as well as kidnapping and torturing Majima himself, resulting in him losing an eye. This is what makes Majima the honorable man he is today. The next day, Majima's boss at the cabaret club, Sagawa, asks him to murder a man named Makoto Makimura in exchange for information on the Yakuza that killed his brother. Majima reluctantly accepts and begins asking phone sex operators for Makoto's whereabouts, because apparently he's the horniest man on earth. Hey everyone, just a reminder that if you're enjoying the Japan Man Slam with no hands video, consider leaving a like or a comment, since that helps me with the YouTube algorithm. And if you're really vibing, you can even subscribe. It's free, and I might even kiss you on the forehead. Also, follow my socials at YourBudTevin on every single one of them. Thank you so much, and let's get back to the video. After introducing predatory free market capitalist ideas to Japan, Majima finds out that Makoto is a chiropractor, and after a failed assassination attempt, runs into Ray Charles, Japanese Woman Edition. She says that because she's blind, she's very good with her hands, and what I thought was leading up to a very offensive hand job ends up in a massage. Bummer. Eventually, Makoto shows up though, and knows that it's on site. This boss fight, as well as pretty much every fight in Majima's story, is too easy thanks to the slugger style. Who even needs fists when I can just Pete Rose everybody in my swing radius? After putting some chrome to Makoto's dome, some Yakuza show up and demand we hand over Makoto. It's then revealed that Makoto isn't a big scary man at all, but is instead a teenager from Shujin, the blind girl from earlier. The Yakuza take the girl, and Majima goes off to save her, because she's his to kill and nobody else's. After an anticlimactic chase and fight scene, Majima rescues Makoto, and gets her to safety in the most annoying part of the game. Back on Kiryu's end, rather than figuring out who actually killed the man in the empty lot, he and Nishiki have a boys' day, hanging out at the batting range and buying new suits to relieve some stress. That night, Kiryu spots an old man hunched over in pain and decides to help him out. The old man is so grateful that he gives Kiryu his entire real estate business and $15 million. Kiryu heads back to the bar to celebrate his sudden wealth with Nishiki when Lieutenant Awano shows up to ruin the mood. After finishing a game of Throw the Yakuza, Awano tells Kiryu that he has until morning to give Tachibana up, or everybody he loves is going to get hurt. Something tells me that Awano hasn't played any of the other games. Kiryu meets up with Tachibana, who asks for just one more day to secure the empty lot and declare Kiryu's name. Unfortunately for Kiryu, this is way too long, and he ends up with more Japanese men hunting him than a beluga whale. This is probably one of my least favorite areas in the game, as there's a timer for every wave of enemies that you face. The timer is shorter for each new wave of enemies that you face, and reinforcements show up if you can't beat everyone in time. Thankfully, there's more than enough environmental weapons in each area to be able to beat each wave, and I get through it without too much trouble. Kiryu knows he's a dead man unless he can find somewhere to hide. Lucky for him, the local thoughty Fukumi tells him about an underground sewer tunnel that he can hide in. World's most naive man Kiryu trusts her, and to nobody's surprise except his, Kuze is waiting for him. After taking a 40-mile-an-hour metal pole to the arms, Kiryu is forced to fight Kuze again, this time in literal doo-doo water. This boss fight is a little bit more difficult than the first. Kuze sometimes gets super armor on his attacks, so I can't just spam kicks to win. Still, it isn't anything too difficult, and if anything, it was only time consuming. After the Dookie duel, Kiryu ends up at the disco joint, where Awano is waiting for him. Awano talks for 10 minutes about wanting Kiryu to join him. Kiryu says nah, and Awano shoots a woman out of anger. Nishiki finds Kiryu and manages to get him out of the city like the good friend he— Hey yo, are you serious right now? Nishiki threatens to kill Kiryu in order to save him from dying, and Kiryu, realizing how stupid his brother is, ends their friendship, steals his car, and leaves him in the forest. Back in Super Majima World, he decides not to kill Makoto, and instead looks for a solution to keep her safe. When asked how she became blind, Makoto tells Majima to go find not Makoto, and he'll have the answers. Unfortunately for Majima, not Makoto had a bit of an accident in the previous chapter. Heading back to the scene of the crime, Majima finds a doctor who knows where to find Lee, and to prove that he's trustworthy, he beats up everyone once he gets there. Lee tells Majima that he's found a way to keep Makoto safe, and tells him to meet up tonight to go over the plan. To kill some time, Majima heads over to Club Sunshine, effectively starting the best part of the game. Oh Yuki, you're gonna be the best hostess in all of Japan. That night, Lee explains that the only way to save Makoto is to kill someone who looks like her instead. Not wanting to break his code of honor, Majima refuses, beats up Lee for even thinking of such a cruel idea, and walks away. The next day, Lee congratulates Majima for killing the doppelganger, but when Majima explains that he didn't kill her, he receives a phone call from a mysterious man who claims to be the one who did. Back at the cabaret club, Majima meets with Nishitani, the man who killed the doppelganger, and asks for more information about what the hell is going on. Rather than explaining, Nishitani calls the cops on himself, gets his ass whooped by Majima, and goes to jail. More confused than ever, Majima starts looking for answers, but is stopped by the Chinese doctor, who claims that Lee needs Percocets to help with the gunshot wounds. However, when Majima delivers the pills, he discovers that the doctor sold them out, putting everyone in danger, including himself. Majima and company try to escape, but Lee falls for the old bomb in the car trick, and Majima takes a pistol whip, the same place I take my friends in Modern Warfare 3 trickshot lobbies, to the dome. The game shifts back to Kiryu's side, as he needs to find a place to survive the night without getting Jimmy Hoffa'd. I try going to Serena first, but the game won't let me, so I head to the Kazuma family office, only to be told I couldn't go there either. After just about giving up, Reina finds Kiryu and tells him to go to Serena for the night. You know, where I tried to go in the first place. Even at Serena, the Yakuza find Kiryu, and instead of fighting outside like a considerate friend, Kiryu decides to destroy all of Reina's property in the ensuing scuffle. The upcoming fight sequence is intense, as you have 3 straight fights in a row. The first in the bar is pretty easy. The next is against a small army in a crowded alleyway, which can get frustrating. The hardest part here is the guy constantly tasing you, which automatically stuns you and knocks you down. Afterwards is Kuze. Again. Each time you fight Kuze, he gets more health, and does more damage with his combos. Add on to the fact that there's other enemies that you have to fight, and this battle can actually get you killed if you aren't paying attention. It's easier than it looks though, due to the fact that there are tons of environmental weapons in the area. Kuze almost pulls the beat me in the game but not in the cutscene trick when Tachibana hits him with that Tokyo Drift. After escaping, the man with the dummy money hurts his tummy, so Kiryu and the gang head to Little Asia, a weird name for a piece of land in the middle of a Japanese city. Since Kiryu is Japanese, however, he isn't welcomed in Little Asia, and resorts to staying at Angel Island with the other homeless Japanese. That night, a group of kids show up and try to beat up the homeless because no one under the age of 17 is a decent person. Thankfully, Kiryu saves the day by beating up a bunch of teenagers, because no one over the age of 17 is a decent person. The next day, Oda picks me up in a van and we head to Tojo Clan HQ, in what is easily the worst rendered cutscene of all time. Once Kiryu gets to Tojo HQ, Tachibana buys his freedom for $1 billion, officially changing his name from Kazuma Kiryu to Kunta Kinte. And even after earning his freedom, Kiryu is attacked by no less than every able-bodied man in Japan. This section was probably the second hardest to deal with in Kiryu's story. There are so many waves to get through that unless you went and bought health items beforehand, like I did, you'll likely struggle a bit to get past this part. After breaking out of Tojo HQ, Tachibana says that the owner of the empty lot has been found in Sotenbori, and it's revealed that the owner is Chick Hicks from the movie Cars. Just kidding, it's Makoto, the blind girl with Majima. But wouldn't that be crazy though? It's just like a car who owns this piece of land, and it's just like, speaking of Majima, the discovery of Makoto being taken does not sit too well with Sagawa, and after beating Majima like a 1930s housewife, he sends him to find Nishitani for information. Needing to get into jail to talk to Nishitani, Majima finds Old Man Jenkins, a detective who promises to take him to jail if he wins 3 fights in the Gulag. After winning against 3 kids who dropped Stadium at the beginning of their Warzone game, Majima earns his freedom from the Gulag and gets sent to prison. Nishitani, upset that he lost 2-0 in the first set against Majima, asks for the salty run back, and catches a fade tighter than Lil Boosie's. After being defeated again, Nishitani tells Majima that Makoto is likely with the Nikyo Consortium, which is like the Black Ops division of Yakuza. They agree on getting Makoto back, but when it's time to leave the prison cell, Nishitani is a little slow and gets shot. I guess he couldn't get the lead out. Sorry. Majima tries to head to the Nikyo Consortium alone, but gets stopped by Sagawa along the way. With no other options, Majima travels with him to get Makoto back. As soon as Majima gets to the Consortium, the guards waste no time pulling up on him. These fights are similar to the previous ones. Several hallways, wave after wave of enemies, Nothing too difficult. But there's a new enemy introduced that is so infuriating that I truly consider this mission and every mission onward a chore to complete. And that enemy is the stupid ass gunmen. Gunmen sit in the back of the room like spawn camping little kids waiting on their kill streaks. They wait a few seconds and then shoot at you, which does a ton of damage, as well as knocking you down instantly. Any more than 2 of these guys in a room makes me want to lodge glass in my fingernails. Regardless, after slogging through the entire building, Majima finds Sarah, who demands to fight to see if he can trust Majima with protecting Makoto. Majima goes yard on this guy's cranium, and they find out that Kiryu is taking Makoto to meet with Tachibana. You see, earlier, in Kiryu's timeline, Makoto was given to Kiryu because she wanted to get rid of the empty lot. But upon hearing Oda's voice, she remembered that he's the reason that she went blind, because he came in her eyes when she told him not to. Not wanting to be embarrassed in front of Tachibana, Oda attempts to kill Makoto and Kiryu, only to be stabbed in the leg. Then, as if shit wasn't confusing enough, it turns out Tachibana and Makoto are brother and sister, and the only reason Tachibana was interested in the empty lot was to find his long lost sister. Kiryu and Makoto escape, Oda gets killed by Yakuza, and I'm still trying to figure out the plot of this game. Heading back to, Kiryu decides to leave Makoto with the homeless rather than take her to Little Asia, where, her brother is. And on their way to meet at the empty lot, Kiryu gets shot, and Tachibana gets kidnapped in the Shyamalan twist of the century. After recovering, Kiryu heads back to tell Makoto about her brother when he's ambushed by Yakuza. Except this time, Nishiki is back, and after an emotional bros moment, decide to come together and wait, where's Kiryu's gunshot wounds? No, seriously, he just got shot not even 10 minutes ago. That's not enough time for it to heal. Kiryu and Nishiki find out where Tachibana is located, but by the time they get to him, he's on his deathbed from a little known ailment known as taking a sledgehammer to the face. In a fit of rage, Kiryu beats the brakes off Kuze for literally the 4th time. Afterwards, Kiryu takes Tachibana's lifeless, battered corpse to meet his sister, which is an act that's supposed to be honorable, but just comes across weird. But hey, she can't see how beat up he looks, so, who cares at this point. Meanwhile, Majima is sent to see his old captain, Shimano, or as I like to call him, man with the scariest face in video game history. Shimano reveals that he set up Majima and Makoto because he knew Majima would end up protecting her and earning her trust, making it easier for Makoto to give him the empty lot. Truly an 800 IQ play. Majima heads to Kazuma's office to find Kiryu, only to run into Cash Doll instead. He challenges Majima to a fight, to which Majima replies the only way he knows how, by hitting bitches over the head with a metal bat. Majima then finds Nishiki and gives him the same treatment, officially becoming the best batter from Japan since Ichiro Suzuki. After explaining to Nishiki that he only wants to protect Makoto, Reina tells Majima that no one knows where she is, prompting the two to join forces in an attempt to keep her safe. Majima heads to the empty lot for some reason, and in a stroke of plot armor, finds Makoto on a nearby roof. Except now, much like Raven Baxter or the Scarlet Witch, Makoto has vision. Makoto, fueled by revenge for her brother's death, becomes kind of a dick. And when Majima attempts to dissuade her from doing anything dangerous, she does something dangerous, willingly turning herself over to the Yakuza. Makoto's plan was to trade the empty lot in exchange for the deaths of Dojima's lieutenants, an idea so stupid that she was shot for even proposing it. Enraged that he almost lost Makoto for not helping her carry out her revenge, Majima loses his goddamn mind and heads back to Dojima HQ to kill everyone involved. At the same time, Sarah, leader of the Nikyo Consortium, tells Kiryu that Makoto is secretly recovering on a yacht, but it will likely be ambushed by Dojima's men. With nothing left to lose, both Kiryu and Majima head to their final battles. Kiryu is first, and this is by far the hardest part in the game. You're tasked with running through the yacht, trying to reach the top deck in order to fight the final Dojima lieutenant, Shibusawa. In the way, however, are several waves of Yakuza, large brutes, mini-bosses, and gunmen. So many gunmen. Not being able to punch here is a test of mental strength, because there aren't many environmental weapons in this section. This means that the only way to deal significant damage is by grappling, which takes up a lot of time and leaves you open to damage. When you finally reach Shibusawa, the game will change to Majima's perspective, who faces similar opposition at Dojima HQ. Thanks to the slugger style though, Majima's fights are a cakewalk by comparison. His difficulty comes from the fact that there are two back-to-back boss fights. First up is Lieutenant Awano. Similar to Kuze, Awano's approach is really just walk up and start flailing combos like a melee fox. His moves sometimes have super armor, so even though I'm mid-combo, there's a chance he rocks me with a charged up haymaker. Thankfully, I bought hella healing items before the fight, so there was never really any worry about me losing. After the fight, Majima and Awano have this weird Yakuza heart-to-heart, which is odd considering that Majima's plan was to kill him in the first place. Thankfully, the assassin that shot Makoto earlier has Majima's back and takes Awano out. That's not enough to forgive shooting Majima's crush, however, and the second fight against Lao Gui begins. Now, I've beaten Yakuza 0 a few times before attempting this challenge. Lao Gui is hard, and I've struggled to beat him in every single playthrough I've done. But for some reason, this time I just absolutely whooped his ass. I don't even know what happened, but he was almost constantly stun locked by my attacks, and the fight was over before it even started. With everything done on Majima's end, the only fight remaining is between Kiryu and Shibusawa. And this fight takes forever. Like I've said since the beginning, the issue with Kiryu's fighting style is that there's really no way to avoid punching unless you're spamming kicks, grappling, or picking up environmental weapons. Well, unfortunately for me, 2/3 of this boss fight have no environmental weapons to pick up, meaning that I just have to spam kicks or catch a lucky grapple. Even worse, Shibusawa has tons of super armored moves, long combo strings that do tons of damage, and attacks almost non-stop. Basically, this asshole is the Dragon Ball FighterZ Broly, but in Yakuza. There really isn't any strategy going into this fight. Spam kicks, try and grab him when I can, and just keep doing that until his health bar reaches 0. And considering that he pretty much has double the health of every other boss in this game, it takes quite a while. With Shibusawa and the rest of the Dojima clan defeated, Kiryu and Kazuma's names are cleared, Makoto is safe, and Majima is free to return to his respectful life as a cabaret owner. Except he doesn't do that, remains crazy because he can't have Makoto, and becomes a Yakuza lieutenant himself. And as for me, well, after beating Yakuza 0 without punching, there's still one more thing I need to do in this game. I wanna be a girl. I wanna be a girl. Somebody say I'm a good girl with a drink and apple wine. Every man feels so happy.